Bears, they started this new tradition last year where they celebrate their wins the correct way.
Waddle and Sylvie, ESPN 1000. Don't miss it.
I know what you mean.
It's like their own Philly.
Okay. Okay, I think what it is.
We shouldn't be showing this. Am I crazy?
What a great sign that is. What have I told you? 17 minutes of rain would wash away 108 years of drought.
Do you see this team growing into the team that you were in 2005?
Great claps, everybody.
All I gotta say is, Greg Braggs, you are ridiculous.
What just happened?
We'll take it.
Once again, the Chicago Bears in dramatic fashion. Can you believe it? Bobby Massey with the heroic catch to extend the clock. They didn't get any points on that drive, of course, because they had to make it right down to the end. The final play of the game, just like last week. Always comes down to that last play for the Chicago Bears. Never a dull moment, and we'll take it. The Chicago Bears are 2-0, Jake, and we've probably lost another 10 years out of our lives. So that's 20 now here going between weeks 1
That's
and
what I'm
week
saying.
2.
I had to tweet out. We can never just have something easy.
It really
you skate through
can't
that
be.
first half, and you're thinking, "Oh man, this is going to be a nice Sunday. Nice relaxing day." And then they always let these teams hang around.
And you always fall for it as a Bears fan. You always fall for it. Last week, halftime, doom and gloom. It's over. How are we ever going to score? We can't do it. And then eureka. Then it's like, hey, meet the new. It's always the same old song and dance. 30 years of Bears football. We never learn our lesson. Week 2, we're up 17-0 at halftime. I'm, gleeful, having a halftime report, acting like we are heading to 2-0. No problem. Easy peasy, right? And then the Bears, we never learn our lesson. Comes right down to the wire. But let's get into it, Jake, because we have a really special guest today who's going to be someone you see a lot on Brags and Stands, but he's in a different time zone completely, and he's in our Bears world all day, every day, but we know that he's got a bedtime. So without further ado, here is our guy, Barelissimo, George from London, my guy who flew me all the way across the pond Greggy packed his bags and went all by himself and flew all the way over and met Berlissimo in a bar.
What a big boy you are.
In a strange bar that kind of was reminiscent of the bar in Star Wars. And we made it through, and we even shared a bed together. But that's a story for another day.
No, we need that today.
We'll give it to you anytime you want, Jake. But for now, Berlissimo, I have to get your reaction to everything you just saw from the Chicago Bears moving to 2-0.
What can you say apart from we never do it easy? And that's what the Bears have done historically, and I see no change in this team. I'm actually quite pleased, I've got to say, with the first half performance was very good, both on offense and defense. Still, it shows the lack of confidence, I think, in the coaches that we go so passive in the second half, given that we're 17 points up, 17-3 at one point. We had that kind of dominance in the game, and we were going so well in the first half, and then we get a little bit passive. We let the momentum shift, and down at the very last call, you're seeing a flag come in, and 90% of the Bears fans' hearts are in their mouths, and they're wondering whether it's OPI, DPI, and at the 1 yard line with time running. We just don't make it easy for ourselves, and that's a common theme. What I liked today was Leno's run blocking was much more improved. Pass blocking generally was more improved. Good pocket in the first half. Run game gets going, and Montgomery shows yet again he needs the majority of the carries. Yeah, absolutely. He was very good today. Darnell Mooney showing up both as a pass receiver and a blocking wide receiver. And in what world other than 2020 do we see Bobby Massey having more catches and yards than Anthony Miller?
In this Bears world that we live in every day, could you expect nothing less? I mean, who was it a couple of years ago? Bradley Sowell with the touchdown, the only touchdown reception against the vaunted LA Rams. Man, I've been getting my teams. I was calling the Nashville Titans. I got to get my team straight, apparently. But Berlissimo, how does it work when we see this team, like we just talked about, first week, night and day, the next week, day and night? How do you explain how they just can't seem to put four quarters together? It sounds so simple. The other team gets paid too, but it's just so maddening as a fan to see that. I mean, it's just the inconsistency. There's no other word for it. Night and day. I don't understand it. What do you attribute it to? I asked the question. I can't remember where I was. I think I might have been with my guys on 79th and House. I asked, who is more to blame here for the inconsistencies, Mitch or Nagy?
Well, Nagy has changed significantly from what he was doing last year. I think what we saw last year was too many gimmick plays. Play calling without there being much scheme to it. Calling plays just because they're plays in your playbook rather than it setting up something else. I like to see offenses, particularly complex, like Kansas City, where you see one look and there could be four different plays from that same look, and they're setting up plays deliberately to bait the defense into saying, right, okay, we're going to stop this, and then it turns into something else off the back of it. That's what I would like to see the offense doing. However, with Nagy, historically, last year, even the first year, it was a case of running plays because he's got this wealth of plays and he wants to be the smartest guy in the room. He's got his little, his green playbook out of the water boy. He's got that playbook, and he's going to call every single play that's in there, whether it makes sense, whether it's psychotic or not, like some of the Bears fans appear to be today. Mitch in the first half, you read the same tweets, tweets from the same people. Oh, Mitch is really good. That was really good. And then the second half, Mitch is trash and he's throwing interceptions and this defeat is going to be on him. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, Mitch is what he is, and not having him under center when it's been working all the way through the game. We're going to shotgun in the fourth quarter. It's been working under center. Keep him under center. Right. Keep David Montgomery behind him. Keep two tight ends on the field.
Were you surprised to see David return? I mean, he landed on his neck in the first half. I thought for sure I wouldn't have blamed him at all.
At least maybe it might have been concussed or something.
Man.
Yeah, I think that's what they were checking. I think the reason why he went into the into the stands in the first half was they're probably X-raying his neck to make sure there was, or even a quick MRI. To check there's no trapped nerves, pinched nerves. He's not going to do more damage by playing. He probably felt good enough to play. He went to the tent. Obviously, that's a check for concussion. He went to 10, came out of there, looked okay. Off to the changing rooms, just to get him a quick X-ray or whatever to see whether he's got any pinched nerves, things like that. He doesn't. He's good to go. The kid is just phenomenal. So many people don't rate him, yet there's so many times where he gets hit in the backfield, he falls forward for 2 yards. How many times today did we see him break through tackles that would have everyone else we've got in the backfield down? He doesn't. Yeah. He goes through it, he goes around it, he goes over it. Whatever he needs to do, he's just constantly, like Sweetness says, never die easy. That's what Montgomery does.
Yeah, I think he had some 40-plus yards last week after contact. Keeps it up again this week. I've been advocating for him to get at least 20 touches a game. Like, please. I hope something in Nagy, maybe the switch might have flipped in his mind today about trying to get this guy going, because if you give him the opportunity, he makes the most of it.
Nagy's clearly figured out the run game to an extent. You saw it today on so many times where they threw on first down and maybe didn't get anything, but on second down he went right back to the run and they got good yardage to make it third and manageable, and they were able to move the chains a lot of times for that. The only time, like you pointed out, Jake, is where he got gun shy was at the end, where they go to 1st and 25. David Montgomery runs for 24 yards. Eureka, you still stick to the run on second down. Now it's 3rd and 1. You throw it. I don't agree with it, but fine. 4th down, you throw it again. What? Montgomery just got you to that 1 yard line. Give him that ball. Jake, you tweeted it out as soon as it happened. And that is the kind of stuff where, Matt, stick to your convictions like you've been doing. Last week when they were down 3 score, he stuck to the run. They're 4th and 1 right there. I don't mind the 3rd down call as much because you got the team. The defense doesn't know whether or not you're going 4 downs, but you got them somewhat off balance. But 4th down, run that rock. I don't
even like the 3rd down really, because you're stopping the clock if something happens there, which is exactly what happens. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I would say you got your 3rd and 1, and you're going to probably be in 4 down territory. Just run the ball. Go in I formation and let it rock.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big stats guy, but I mean, you look at David Montgomery today. He had 19 touches total for 127 yards. He had 5.1 average on rushing with a longer 23. He had a 15-yard average on receiving with a touchdown. One of the few receivers to catch all of the targets that he had. Darnell Mooney caught all 3 of his. He looks an absolute steal. The worrying thing today for me was the further decline of Danny Trevathan and him getting subbed out more. I think that's a possible. He might even do a Kyle Long and go to IR. I'm going to call it now. I think he may be a case for a Kyle Long go to IR for some reason that we don't know about. Adam Robinson is a concern. 9 targets, 3 catches, 33 yards, and 2 possible interceptions because he wasn't playing the ball aggressively.
Right. Yeah.
So I gotta ask you guys this. We had this question come from us on Twitter after the game from El Caballo. He wants to know, does the 4th quarter Bears defense scare you, and not in a good way? We've seen the last 2 weeks sorry, Jake, didn't mean to put you on the spot there. No, I didn't do that. I don't know what happened.
Come on, man.
I'm sorry. So we have seen the last 2 weeks the 4th quarter defense, giving us a scare, letting not only the team now this week back into the game, but that final drive, letting them get all the way down to the end zone and have an opportunity to win the game. Is the 4th quarter defense scaring you the way El Caballo is suggesting?
It's not just for me. It's not just the 4th quarter defense. It's the defense as a whole. I did a breakdown, Greg, earlier this week of the Bears, not only the Bears offense and defense, and there was something that was sort of coming out to me other than Danny Trevathan's decline. And that's that our understanding of zone responsibilities on defense looks lacking to me, which is a coaching issue. Pagano consistently goes passive on defense in pressure situations. We have a set of guys up front. I mean, at one point we had Hicks, we had Quinn, we had Mack, all on the field in pressure situation with that quarterback, and we went a sort of a passive zone on the back end. With that many horses up front and that offensive line where you've got a rookie starting at left tackle, you got bits and bobs players at other positions on the line. That for me was saying press with zone over the top. Play press man and zone over the top. But Pagano goes passive. There's always a hole in the middle. There's always someone who leaks out of the backfield and gets free chunk yards coming out late. So yeah, the defense generally is an issue. They played the run much better today. That was an improvement.
I saw
Right.
you mention on Twitter, your concern about Danny Trevathan now for a second week in a row, and I think you phrased it, a conversation might need to be had, when they go into the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but I'm not doing it, I promise.
That's
but,
all right.
No, but when they go into the good, the bad, and the ugly on Tuesday, what are they gonna be telling Danny Trevathan, and how can they help him? Obviously the crossing patterns are giving him trouble and things of that nature, but how can they help him get back to being, the elite force he once was, or can he?
I'm not sure whether physically he's in a position where he can be the player that he once was at the moment. I mean, that remains to be seen. That's something that it could just be rust still that needs knocking off. What was good for me today, and I'm sure the tape will show it when we get the All-22. Let's hope it's not next Thursday. But when we get the All-22, what I think you will see is on early downs, Danny Trevathan was diagnosing, reading, and attacking much more aggressively the line of scrimmage against the run. When Saquon was on the field, that was really important. We managed to bottle him up. The outside contain wasn't great today, but that's not on the middle linebackers. In coverage, he is an absolute liability at this point. He's not able to stay with anyone. Again, zone reading, when you're a linebacker, you should know from the formation, even if there's motion at the last minute, you should know who your threats are, who's going to be the first person in your zone, and who are the people that could enter your zone are. When the last person enters your zone, you carry them. You should be expecting to continue on the route that they're already on. I don't see that from either of our linebackers. Roquan is much, much better at it, but Danny Trevathan, I'm afraid, is an absolute liability. I did say before the game that I expected that he would be targeted early and often if he was left in the pass game. It was good to see Bush on and playing some more defense as a sort of a hybrid linebacker, so box safety. That was important to see. But for me, Joel Ibunue actually plays zone defense really well. Josh Woods obviously wasn't active today. They brought up the other guy from the practice squad, so it remains to be seen as to whether, like I say, that hypothesis that I've already proposed, that there might be a possibility we see an injury which forces Danny Trevathan to go to injured reserve at some point later in the season if this continues.
So back over to the offense, and our guy Samir is in the chat, and he really wants to know about Darnell Mooney. But I gotta get, because I know you are tight on time. It's late over there in London, and we are Trubisky truthers, right, Barlissimo? That's what everybody knows us as, the guys who beat the Trubisky drum on Twitter and on ESPN 1000. And we got my buddy in the chat, my buddy Dan. He's got a comment for us. Trubisky sucks, partner. Knows that's my boy, but he stinks. And that is a sentiment you get from a lot of Bears fans, and I get why they feel that way. It's an emotional thing when you watch a football game and you see the way he plays in the first half, and then they don't do anything in the second half. And just like in the first half of the first game, you try to place blame on who it is. Anthony Miller has 2 crucial drops. Last week it was Jimmy Graham with 2 crucial drops. Mitch also makes mistakes of his own, but it's not all on Mitch. I dubbed this phrase last year, and it continues to be the case. Barlissimo, what would you say to a guy like Dan who's just flatlined? Trubisky sucks. I don't even want to think about this anymore, but Bears win. Good for you. What do you say to those kind of people?
So I would say, Dan, and I'm speaking directly to you now, my friend, you are entitled to that opinion, and I welcome you as a passionate Bears fan who is obviously invested in what happens on the Bears when we play every single week. My context is from someone who's been, played at a reasonable level and coached for quite a long time over here. Yes, it's not in the professional leagues in America, but I have played with ex-NFL players, so I have got a little bit of an idea. And I'm trying to show people, when I propose an argument, I'm quite happy to go to the tape and to put it on tape to show you what it is. I'll show you the pre-snap look. I'll tell you what coverage it is. I'll tell you what the routes are, because we know what they are. It's on the tape. And I'll even go through the decision-making that Trubisky has, because he makes decent decisions most of the time. Is his accuracy 100% of the time? No, it's not. Show me a quarterback whose accuracy is 100% of the time. There isn't one. The wide receivers at some point have to make plays in the NFL. Quarterbacks have to make plays in the NFL. Mitch Trubisky last week in the fourth quarter, and in the fourth quarter against the Eagles, he showed he has ice in his veins. When he's running plays, he knows how to run. There's a lot of psychology that goes into the mechanics. When he's running things he's confident in, he tells everyone, I don't know how many times he said it, he's a reps guy. So rather than having a massive playbook that nobody really knows and we're going to have all those plays to call, have concepts that run work. So get him under center, have him rolling out, do that Hartfield boot action, do those sorts of things. But Mitch is a quarterback who is underwhelmed. There is no doubt about that. I am not a Mitch Trubisky truther. I am, however, confident he is an NFL level quarterback if he has calls played which complement the offense. So not just Mitch Trubisky, it's got to complement the guys that are blocking in front of him. It's got to complement the tight ends and the running backs, and it's got to complement the wide receivers. Only when that happens, and when we do see that happening, plays that the guys can execute and run efficiently, we see an efficient offense most of the time. That's what you get in the NFL. That's what football is.
It's well said, Barely.
Very well said.
Very well said. And, you're always so much more eloquent. It's not just your accent. You are always so much more eloquent than I am when it comes to these conversations. And that's all I basically ever tried to say to anybody over the last year. When I'm trying to say it's not all on Mitch, it's not a truther, ball washer technique because I'm a fanboy. It is simply, as you are stating, the little adjustments that this team needed to make. They had no tight ends last year. They have a couple tight ends to work with this year. They had no run game this year. Look at the run game this year and look at the way they can complement the run game off of what they can do. Are they a finished product? No. You don't win Super Bowls in September. You win Super Bowls in January. Let the team build some momentum. It's clear now after 2 weeks, because I did want to ask this on Twitter, and I wish I would have, but everything fell apart in the second half. But had the Mitch that we saw in the first half continued, I was going to ask the people that are hardcore detractors, like Dan, that is done with them. I would have asked, because the way it looked at the end of halftime, I wanted to ask those people, is it worth it now to have seen Mitch for a second? Because that's all I was ever trying to say. Let's not call him a bust and throw him down the river just yet, because we don't know if he is the garbage that some try to purport him to be. And what we've seen here in the first 2 games is exactly why there has been so much argument. He does have, problems and things he needs to get better at, but he obviously has the talent and can obviously make plays. So it's about putting the whole thing together. Is he Patrick Mahomes? No, but he can absolutely be a quarterback this city gets behind. And that's why he won the job. That's why Nagy picked him to be the quarterback. It wasn't like this whole reasoning that everybody tried to come up with. He won the job. He's playing some football right now, and let's give him a chance to stack some wins, build some momentum.
So I've got 2 questions, or 1 question and a statement for anyone that sort of wants to get involved in this debate as to whether Trubisky is a quarterback and whether Foles should be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. So the first one is on the fourth quarter last week, Mitch Trubisky got face masked, the pass protection broke down, and he ran for 25 yards to get a massive conversion late in the game. Would Nick Foles have been able to have done that? I propose that he wouldn't have been able to have done that. The play today to David Montgomery, would Nick Foles have been able to escape that pocket? I don't think he would, the same way that Mitch Trubisky would have. So Mitch gives you things that Nick Foles doesn't. Yes, Nick Foles reads the field. He doesn't have a particularly strong arm, although he is willing to throw the ball deep. Yep. But he doesn't give you the athleticism. And there are times where Mitch's athleticism bails out the offensive line and it bails out the offense.
Sure.
That's the thing is if you're going to ask these questions, if you're going to make these statements, Mitch Trubisky's footwork is terrible. Okay, show me. Show me where Mitch Trubisky's footwork is terrible and tell me what's wrong with it. If you can't, you're just repeating someone else's narrative.
Sure.
And negativity sells in Chicago. I mean, Dan Weeder has got a career out of it at the end of the day.
Shots fired at our boy Danny Weeder, the realist. But
there are so many negative reporters in Chicago, and anything which triggers people want to defend one side and people want to attack another.
And it's it's
what they're going to do. They're going to drive conversation.
It's very similar to the kind of conversations you have when it comes to politics. Everything is so black polarized and white. It's always so extreme. If you try to bring up variables to say, hey, he might not be a bust, you're a truther. You're a fanboy. You can't see through it because you're biased. And if you're a cynic like Dan Weeder, you start saying, "Oh, I'm a realist," because of what I think. And then someone like me or you is like, "Oh, you're a hater." But it's somewhere in the middle. And I think unfortunately, that's what Mitch is. He's somewhere in the middle with that conversation. And he isn't Jamarcus Russell bust, but obviously he is never going to hit the Patrick Mahomes stratosphere. But where is that middle? And that's the big question. Can he be a Ryan Tannehill? Can he be an Alex Smith? Or is he going to be a lesser version of that? You hope he can ascend. Like I said, there's still a chance for this guy to be our quarterback going forward. He has a right to win that job this year.
I'm going to have to leave you guys with a thought, and then that's that. When we're talking about Bears, we're all passionate, we're all fans. That's okay, that's fine. But what we need to have is we need to have a little bit of nuance in our conversations, as in to understand what it is we're asking, and we need to have perspective. So if we're going to offer an opinion, let's sort of say where this opinion is coming from. What are you seeing? So if you're going to say it, spell it out, show it, back up your argument. If you're going to put a hypothesis forward, be prepared to defend it. There's too much where we, generally speaking, in society these days, we offer an opinion with nothing to back it up, and we're prepared to offend people, upset people, call one another, whatever we want to call each other, truthers or haters, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, let's have a bit of context and let's have a bit of nuance in our conversations.
Throw out the silly labels, and let's just call a spade for what it is. If a guy drops a pass, let's figure out why it was dropped, who it is on. There's no bias here. We all want the same thing. So, it was vital for whoever to win that quarterback job, because it wasn't going to be perfect coming out the gates, and they did have a softer schedule to start the year. So, as someone that wanted Mitch to get a shot, I was rooting for it hard, because I knew this beginning of the schedule was going to lay him out some wins and thus give him an opportunity to prove himself in an extended portion of the season. If Foles was in right now, they probably win these 2 games by a slim margin as well, and he stays the quarterback. So now Mitch has an opportunity. He's taken the little cookie crumbs, and now he needs to hit a few home runs here in the next few weeks, and then he can stamp his foot down as the 100% QB1. We can throw that conversation away. Unfortunately for you and me, Barlissimo, the conversation isn't quite over. He has to finish this job. He has to play 4 quarters of football like we saw in the fourth quarter of week 1 and the first half of week 2.
Other than Darnell Mooney today, realistically, show me a player that played all 4 quarters really, really well.
Oh, yeah, and Samir really wants to know about Darnell Mooney. So before you go, give Samir a little something about our guy Cash Mooney.
So yeah, Cash Mooney. What can you say about the guy? Has really surprised me. He looked a little bit frail and a little bit sort of. I was concerned that whether he would hold up in the NFL, but I mean, I guess Tariq Cohen has. And what we're seeing from Darnell Mooney, which I am really surprised at, is that level of quickness we saw at Tulane, we are seeing in the NFL, which means the guy is seriously rapid. But the most impressive thing about him, and a lot of people are making comparisons already to Johnny Knox, I think he actually stops at full speed. He's going full speed, stops, breaks down, and gets out of his route quicker than Johnny Knox. That is an absolute killer against any man coverage, and even against zones. If you're trying to react in the zone, you regularly see Mooney on a stop route, where he's one-on-one versus a person in the zone or a man concept. He is able, through his speed and ability to stop so quickly, able to get 2-3 yard separation. Mitch needs to be looking his way far more often. He is wide receiver 2 on this team.
Absolutely.
Well, Barlissimo, I guess we'll cut you loose. You're always welcome on
Absolutely,
Brags in the
man.
Stands, especially for these amazing post-game analysis that you bring. You are a great mind for football knowledge. You always take a lot of heat because you're very opinionated and you stand strong in your convictions, and that's why I respect you. And you teach me a lot about the game. I try to learn. It's hard to
a lot.
It's hard to fit all that information in this small brain of mine, but cavemen try. And the Bears win. That's all that matters, brother. And we appreciate you coming on. Go ahead, Barlissimo.
Braggsy and Cooksy, you're my boys. I'm always up for cuddles, Greg, whenever you want one. At the end of the day, you're being very, very kind, but yeah, I do appreciate it. Maybe you should stick to soccer and Monday morning quarterbacking, I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing me, and I applaud everyone else to keep doing you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, we love you. We respect your football acumen, and we need you here on Brags in the Stands to help us become
I'm happy
more
to be
football
here.
fans, and I know you're always good for an open conversation. Maybe one day we'll bring Samir in and we'll all chop it up, and you nerds can have it up, and then I'll throw the meatball in the middle.
He's
You're much more than a meatball.
All right, Bears
Thank
win
you, man.
2-0. We'll catch up with you here real soon. You're always gonna be here on Brags in the Stands as a welcome guest all day.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Everyone, just bear down.
Yes, sir. Later, Thunder buddy.
Thank you, man.
So there's our guy
Good stuff.
Barlissimo. So That I love Barlissimo. He's such.
I didn't know he played football in
Yeah,
in
he's got a
England.
bunch of great stories. We're gonna have to bring him on sometime to our Friday show where we can get to know Barlissimo a little more intimately, and I'll show you the whole trip we had in London. I got a million pictures we can share
Oh,
along.
that would be a dream.
And then there's of course the infamous video of us sharing a bed one night in a hotel brothel in
Hotel brothel?
in some kind of shady part of
You mean a hostel?
London. Hostel, whatever, brothel, whatever.
That's a big
In
difference.
Shady part of town, but it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. I got like the true London experience. I was
London's
all
an
over the
amazing
place.
town.
My guy Terrence Young, he was on one side of London, and then Barlissimo was on the other side near the stadium, and then I got Danny and Samir completely on the other side of the. So I figured out I could take you. I was only there for 3 days, and I didn't sleep, but I could take you all around. I know it like the back of my hand now.
Oh, I bet you do.
So, back to the Chicago Bears. 2-0, Jake. What we were trying to tell everybody in the chat that's still with us tonight, we'd like to bring on callers. I had a few people lined up. I did send a message over to my buddy, but he did say he was in the middle of some grocery trips earlier, so maybe he's busy. But if you're a caller that wants to come on to this post-game show right now, you let us know. Send me a message or send something in the chat, and we are happy to set it up. We'd love to start integrating the fans' perspective. If you want to come on and share your reaction or have a question for Jake and I, we'd be happy to try to answer it. Normally Barlissimo or an analyst that we bring on is going to be able to stay for the whole show if they're like, or if they got to go because Barlissimo's got to go to bed, so be it. But we'll try to answer it as best we can. I'm no analyst. I'm just a fan. Jake's the smarter fan between the two of us.
I'm not smart at all.
Yes, you are.
I am not.
You are.
But we were talking about Trubisky, and I mean, if you really watch this game and you think that this game is on him even coming close to this, I mean, come on, give him a break here. He had a really good first half. He was making great throws. The play action was working fantastic. He was making accurate throws. I mean, he had a couple mistakes that he had made, but other than that, I mean, he played a really good game, and the score didn't reflect what it should have been at all.
Absolutely.
I thought he had a hell of a game. I thought he did really well.
Well, that's what's so frustrating, because it's those little misses yet again, just like in the first game where you feel like they're just there, and then all of a sudden it's you get the one score game at the end and you're scratching your head. And I felt like if they had lost, I mean, I don't know, how do you feel about this? Had they lost, do you think Mitch was playing for his job again next week? Because my metric system for this quarterback competition is like, so if he had lost, then the next game, if they lost again and are 1-2, maybe the hook comes if he doesn't look good. Now they're 2-0, so I feel like now his leash has extended to 4-0. The only way the leash has gone completely and we stop talking about this quarterback competition or whether we want Mitch as our quarterback or not, because it's still a valid question for some Bears fans when you have Nick Foles, a former Super Bowl MVP, sitting behind there, and the Bears are squeaking out wins against average or bad football teams. So the only way to me Mitch wins the job is if he strings together 4 straight wins or something like that. But that's what I wonder to you, is if Hay had lost today and then next week, is Mitch gone?
No, I don't think so. I think he played a really good game. I think if anyone deserves a little more animosity towards the way that the game ended, it's Nagy, because I think he got away from some of the things that were working really, really, really well in the first half. Mitch was under center a lot. He was in the gun a little bit more in the second half. I wish they would just let David Montgomery run, and Nagy has to put in those plays to Patterson. He has to do it. It's like I feel like he's forcing the rock to Patterson. I know he's a big weapon, and I get it.
To bring down at times, but then at the end, a couple of the.
But he's also a really big dude, and as opposed to Montgomery, he's shiftier. He's smaller. He can get lost behind some tackles. I mean, they always want to run Patterson outside instead of between the guard, between the tackle. I just would really like to see him get those touches week in and week out, because he can be a bell cow, and I really think he can.
Absolutely. So an exciting moment here at Braggs in the Stands in our post-game show. We are introducing our new segment to this post-game show, which is to integrate the fans. and we want to hear your reaction weekly, and we want to bring on as many callers as we can. But the first caller to Brags in the Stands history is my guy Brandon, and we have been really getting to know each other here the last couple years here on the Bears Twitter sphere. He's always been a loyal supporter of mine, and here he is, first caller out the gates. I promised I would send him the text, and here he is. Brandon, Bears are 2-0. Your reaction?
Whoa. Wow. Bears are 2-0. I didn't think I'd be saying that today. Well, I don't know about that. But, hey, a win is a win, right?
That's right.
Take it.
Right.
It wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't. So where do you stand now on the Mitch train? I mean, that's all it ever is it's all everything revolves around Mitch when it comes to the Bears, and it seems like the answer will never quite be answered. He's just a conundrum, just as much as Jay Cutler was. So where is your Mitch-o-meter right now? We need to make a Mitch-o-meter.
Hey, Braggs, come on now. I'm going to follow my boy Dan Plesac and say, get on my choo-choo train and say, Mitch, choo-choo! Let's keep the Mitch train rolling, baby!
I like it. Hey, he was throwing some dime balls in the first half, but of course, the Bears always got to make it interesting.
Anthony Miller needed to make a couple catches, and then his numbers would have been a lot better.
Hey, I want to start this by saying you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And you know what?
So.
It has been awesome. So proud of you guys as a team. You're doing good things and really, really appreciate that. Braggs, you have worked your tail off, and just get, I want to say that your co-host it's Austin, right?
Yeah.
Austin, Greg.
Oh, I'm in Austin. My name's
He's
Jake.
in Austin.
So
Texas,
my fault.
But his name is Jake.
Yeah, I'm
and
Jake.
His Twitter handle is Crux. It's very confusing.
Yes.
He's got
That's what I didn't want to change it.
Hey,
I didn't expect to do this.
Jake, let me say this, and I'll get to my points. Greg has nothing but great things to say about you, and I think you're doing a phenomenal job. And
You'll make me cry, Brandon.
you want to make Jake cry? This is how you.
Yeah, that's how you make me cry. That's
anyways. Hey, just wanted to say, keep up the great work. So
we appreciate
thanks,
that, Brandon. Before you get to your question, I do want to say thank you. Your support the last few years has meant a lot. So, the Twitter relationships that I've come to know with Bears Twitter has always been welcoming, and you've always been, a very positive light in that. So I appreciate you. And when we get the Brags in the Stands shirts, because you always used to give me crap about our previous podcast shirt on Shy Fans, so I'm getting you a Brags.
I was thinking about making one this week, and I was thinking about making a Cash Mooney shirt actually, and I was wondering if people would actually wear them and buy them.
Jake, please do. From what I understand, you have phenomenal graphic design ability, so make it happen. And I'm a former Houstonian, lived in California now for 3 years.
Nice.
I like that. And so make it happen. And I'm always looking to wear more shirts. So
hell yeah, I'll start making some shirts.
We got all sorts of ideas cooking. So what do you got for us, Brandon?
So,
Fire away.
Hey, couple things. First thing, I just want to say that I was really pleased with the way that Mitch looked in the first half, and I think the poise that he showed, the dime that he threw to Macy, like I don't know how. Mitch is so talented. Like to throw that off a player and know that it's going to go to Massey was just incredible. So first, but no, that it was a great game. I think, like you guys have already stated. Anthony Miller's got to have those catches. I think if you asked Anthony Miller, I don't know if he's talked yet, but he would say the same thing.
Of course.
When I was talking with Greg on Twitter, what I was concerned about was first with the tight ends. It was great to see Cole Kmet make a catch, but compared to last week's game plan where you had more Jimmy Graham, when you have so many tools like the Bears have, I wonder, are there going to be enough balls to go around? Make the jokes now, but are there going to be enough balls to go around? And then on top of that, to see a guy, it will be interesting to see the way that Ted Ginn responds with being benched. But, man, you got to play a guy like Mooney when he plays. Yeah, Mooney's a great player. But how do you get Ginn his touches, or is he cut? I don't know.
As far as there being, too many options, only one ball. I believe Mitch hit 10 different targets in the first half, so he was doing a decent job of it. No, it doesn't seem like anyone's ever going to get the lion's share outside of Allen Robinson unless you're just having a hot day. We saw Cole Kmet finally get a catch. You want to see him more involved, but they need to get in the red zone more for the tight end to get more involved because that's where the mismatch is going to be. You did see Mitch taking advantage of the middle of the football field, but a lot of it going to wide receivers. So I think it's only a matter of time as long as the Bears continue to try, to make plays and get wins and build this momentum up. I think it's only a matter of time before you see Cole Kmet get involved. You've seen Jimmy Graham make plays.
Yeah.
Even today, he had a couple big catches. But again, no one's getting the lion's share when you've got this many options and you're running the ball the way they are. I think the thing that the biggest takeaway you can take from the tight end so far is their blocking right now in the run game because they're stout. It's a different attitude across the board on that blocking front, and that's all credit to Juan Castillo.
Greg, you need to change your lingo a little bit. The Bears played the Lions last week, so this week you need to say the Giant share of the
that's
catches.
true.
So,
That's true.
anyways,
We
hey,
should have
one of
brought
my
up Little Giants gifts. I didn't think of that. That's one of my favorite movies. We should have brought up a few, man. We're not on the ball today. That's okay.
One thing I wanted to say, though, especially that stuck out to me, was the Harris throw where Mitch tried to hit Harris kind of out in the middle of the field. It was a big kind of go one way, throw the other way. And I'd love to see Cole Kmet or Jimmy Graham be on the other end of that throw. I think Harris is more the reason why the Bears brought him in was more for his blocking abilities versus his catching abilities. We've seen 2 weeks in a row now where Mitch has struggled to be able to hit him. Now, is that Mitch? Or is that the fact that that Harris is just a little bit slower than what we think?
Personally, I think that he's overthrown both plays. The ones you're referring to, week 1 in the end zone to Demetrius Harris, and then week 2 here, it was like kind of up the side or up the seam almost, where there was a bit of an overthrow. And I do credit it to or attribute it to a lack of, because in both plays, the DB is all over Demetrius Harris.
Sure.
Now, Mitch can put a better ball on it and give Demetrius a better shot, but in that situation, I think he's overcompensating because he doesn't want to throw an interception, so he's putting it where only the receiver can get it, thus being overthrown because he's not going to take that chance in that moment.
Yeah, he's doing his best to lead him.
Right, and if Demetrius can't get off him enough, that definitely plays into it. Now again, Mitch can put it right on the numbers, so it's a little bit of both, but that's definitely where I see that. And yeah, of course, we want to see Cole get more involved, but he's young and it's going to take him a while. They didn't have a normal preseason, normal anything, so he's just coming along in that way. Jimmy Graham looks great. So, I'm excited for all that. And then, Darnell Mooney, he's got Ted Ginn's job on lock right now. He looks like a young Deshaun Jackson out there. I had told somebody on Twitter, my guy Raul, I was like, do I sound stupid for saying that? But I don't know, that little cut he made week 1, up the sideline, you see that speed, that elite, movement from him. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for. The next Ted Ginn's nice, but you're in the NFL, you're always looking for the next Ted Ginn, not last year's, yesteryear's Ted Ginn.
Yeah, Ted Ginn, or is he you said Deshaun Jackson, or is he the next Taylor Gabriel? That'll be interesting. Is he the next Turbo? I don't know. Deshaun Jackson's obviously had a very nice career, but I'm curious to see what will come out of that.
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted,
for sure.
The other 2 points I wanted to talk about and and I'll make it quick, was the whole. I found the timing of the Tariq Cohen contract extension very interesting. That was nowhere on my radar, and so I thought it caught me off guard a little bit because. In this league, we've just seen the ability for teams to draft and find players like Tariq. Tariq's a phenomenal player. I don't know that you're going to find another Rick, but I was surprised by that just because it feels like the word on the street in the NFL is that running backs are a dime a dozen. Is that right? I don't.
Yeah, know. I kind of agree with you there. I think Tariq is huge for the locker room. He's absolutely beloved. He is a good player. I think you could find another guy like Tariq if you didn't want to give him a contract, but I think it might go a little deeper than that. And if Nagy gets back to some of the razzle-dazzle he was doing and Reek's throwing touchdowns and going crazy like he was, I mean, he's really good in those gadget roles. He's really good, when he's getting more creative. We haven't seen that yet this year, and today off the contract, he had a pretty quiet day. I mean, he did the first week too, relatively, but he had some really nice plays against the Lions. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that it must be a little bit more than just play on the field. He's really good, but I think he offers a lot to the locker room too that they absolutely value.
Last thing that I'll say, it was great to see Robert Quinn have the impact that he did right off the bat. But what a pass rush. Wow. Where did they go? I was texting my brothers in Michigan, and I was like, what is going on here? You pay all this money for a guy like Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, and we got Akeem Hicks. Those are three phenomenal, great players, and we can't judge it off one game, but it seems to be a reoccurring issue now. The Bears got it done, but at the same time, where is the pass rush?
Well, I would say too, think about time of possession in the second half. I mean, I don't know what it was at the time, but I know it was absolutely lopsided. The Bears controlled time of possession in the first half of the game, and they got absolutely outworked the second. So it could be fatigue. I know Robert Quinn hasn't really, I don't know how conditioned he is. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's ready to play football, but he was hot to start the game, and then he was just a body out there for a good part of it.
Well, that was the challenge I asked the team on Friday. I said, if the team can come out to a 10-0 lead, then the defense is going to be more recognizable. And right away, you got the strip sack. And okay, now we're cooking. But after a while, in the battle of attrition that is football, when the offense cannot muster any points or any first downs and there's no momentum and the field position isn't moving correctly, that's where you let the other team start to slip in, and the defense can only hold the line for so long. Then Saquon Barkley goes out, and there's two elements to that. One, you let your guard down a little bit because now you're underestimating them, and two, it's a totally different game plan that you've prepared for, and maybe you're not necessarily ready. That's not a great excuse for a vaunted defense but like the Bears, but that is what happened, and all of a sudden now you're in a ball game. But at the end of the day, 2 weeks in a row, they finished the game. Mac got a sack at the end. There was a couple plays. That's football. Every week, this is what it is, especially in Chicago. The difference between a 10-6 team and a 6-10 team is 5 plays. So 2 weeks in a row, the Bears have found their way to win a football game, and that could be the difference between 10 wins or 8 wins.
Greg, I can't let that slide, though. I know, hey, a win is a win, and I take that. But that defensive front, for the money that we've invested into that team, they've got to be better.
Well, how many points did they give up, Brandon? 13. I take that every week, man.
Come. I agree, but I'm telling you, when you're minus Saquon Barkley and you're getting destroyed by guys like Dion Lewis, and they're all paid professionals. Okay, let's not lose sight of that as well. But Greg, when you've got Danny Trevathan, barely able to keep up with a Dion Lewis, or it's got to be better, and I know that Nagy knows that. I know that
Chuck Pagano knows that 100%.
But to invest that type of money into that defensive line that they've had, that they've done. I tell you what, those boys better. They've in moments like that when you need to put the bow on a game like that. I expected. I'm not gonna lie. I expected that Mac was gonna get a sack or that Quinn was, and
fortune hurt them too, because the call on Eddie Jackson on the pick six. Yes, he hit him in the back prior to the play, but you could make the argument he's making the play on the football, and that was a pick six. That was the deal sealer that we were used to seeing with this defense in 2018. And of course, fortune never seems to go the Bears' way in certain situations, but we're 2-0, so I can't say not completely with the DeAndre Swift drop in week 1.
We'll take it. Hey, the Bears
lip when it comes to fortune.
The Bears put a good solid 1 quarter together last week. This week they put a good solid 2 quarters.
2.5. Maybe.
So next week let's put a good solid 3 quarters together.
Baby steps.
And keep rolling.
Brick by brick.
Hey boys, keep up the good work, and
thanks, man.
I say, keep the mid train going. Woo woo!
He killed it, Brandon. First caller ever. He killed it. What a call from Brandon. A very loyal supporter of mine.
Yeah, that was great.
I appreciate him, and we actually have another caller right down the list. And, as we go forward, we want to bring, if 100 callers want to come in today, we're going to rapid fire. But for today, we're going to get nice and cozy with our callers and get to know them. And today, for our second caller, we're bringing on my guy, Tino Martinez. He just sent me a nice message earlier, and I was like, hey, come on, let's chop it up. I want to hear some Bears fans' reactions, and I know you're
Welcome,
not shy. Man. So welcome to Brags in the Stands, our second caller of the official show launch. So we appreciate you, and the Bears are 2-0. And what is your reaction to all the drama that constantly unfolds with this team on the lakefront?
Oh man, my heart rate's probably at 1,000 right now. But a win is a win, and I'll take it anyway. Whether it's 1 or 100, it's a win. And we're 2-0, and it's the first time since 2013. So I'll take it. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
That's right. And
absolutely, we'll take it.
Back before they've expanded the playoffs now, so an extra team from each conference makes it. But I always remembered the stat every year they'd bust out the teams that start 2-0, their percentage of making the playoffs. The Bears have set themselves up here, absolutely, and they have a few more winnable games here coming up on their schedule. So I want to know, Tino, because just like we talked to Brandon, all things surround Mitch when we talk about the Chicago Bears. And 2 weeks in a row, we get the day and night Mitch. You get what did you call it? What did you pun it, Jake? The book where it's one Mitch and then meets the other Mitch. I forget how you phrased it.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
Not to put you on the spot.
I don't remember.
Night and day Mitch. That's what we'll call
it.
Bizarro Mitch.
Bizarro Mitch.
Yeah, seriously. Two-Face. What do you have to say about our guy, Mitch Two-Face Trubisky, who rips our heart out 1 minute and is stealing our heart the next? Where do you stand on the Mitch-o-meter needle right now?
Well, I'm definitely a Mitch supporter. I've always been. And, and I see a lot of things that are different with Mitch this season. First game, oh man, he was terrible first half. It was beyond terrible. But as the game went on, you've seen that there was different sparks in him that happened. And I was like, yes, this is what we want to see. This is the Mitch that we believe in. And then it comes to this game in the first 2 quarters. I mean, I was like, all right, this is the Mitch. He definitely stepped up. This is what he's going to do. And then you see, personally, I see that, Nagy has a leash on him and won't let him run. And that that's one of Mitch's skills. So it's like, why not let the kid run? So, I see it as, it's a double dragon that we're fighting. We're fighting the team and we're fighting Nagy. And it just seems like Nagy just doesn't like Mitch. But I'm definitely a Mitch supporter, and I'll support him to the end. He's my quarterback. If Foles can do a better job, then put him in. But if you can't beat him at week 1, then I doubt you can beat him in any other time during the season unless he gets hurt.
Yeah, I think Bradlissimo touched on that a little bit. He said, there were a few times that, there was a few times that they did have some called runs for Mitch today. A little bit more than you saw last week, a little bit more designed runs. Mitch did use his legs a few times to get out of some trouble. And that is the thing that he offers you that I don't think Foles would. I think that mobility is one of his greatest assets. And when you saw it even to that Darnell Mooney touchdown, he made something out of nothing and threw across the field and scored a touchdown. That was a great play. And I don't know that Foles has those sort of wheels to actually create those plays that when they break down.
Our guy Chubbs82 in
right.
the chat, one of the hardline speakers on Twitter. I know he's probably having a happy day after that another Trubisky win. I do believe the leash has extended now to a bare minimum of week 5 now that he is 2-0, because you do not bench a quarterback that is either at 500 or above it. So the only way to fall under 500 at this point is to lose 3 straight. If he did that, then we're back into the Foles category. But we are getting closer to that point where Mitch has just put his foot down and said, that's it, it's mine. But I don't think we're completely there. What else did you take from this game? Because it's not all on Mitch, as I always like to say. Where do you stand now with this defense? Because we've heard it from Bradlissimo. We talked to Brandon. He has some concerns. Where do you stand with this defense? They only gave up 13 points, but 2 weeks in a row playing a team that's, below average on paper, doesn't have Saquon Barkley this week, and again, 1 play away from losing. and the defense letting them come all the way down the field. Where do you stand right now with this defense? How much confidence do you have in them as a fan?
Well, I think our D line is probably going to be the strength of everything, as well as the secondary. And it just seems like, and I hate to say it, but I think we made the wrong move when we kept Trevathan. I was happy we kept him because he was the heart of the defense last season, but it just seems like he's lost a step, and it seems like he's getting burnt like toast, and it's just it's kind of sad to see, but I think as the season goes on with Quinn coming in, and now it's going to be the Quinn, Mack, and Hicks show. I really think that they're going to step it up, and you're going to see that they're going to get more to the passer,
Yep.
But I mean, again, it's game 2, so it's kind of like you got to give them a little bit of a leash, but then at the same time, it's like, come on, we're supposed to be way better than this.
And I
think Pagano has a little responsibility there too. Like Bradley Smith was saying, he does seem to play soft. He doesn't, he doesn't go, when you're up 17 points, he wasn't still going for the kill at that point. He was laying off. I mean, playing, not allowing any big plays, but he allows things underneath a little bit. But yeah, it's like Greg said, you're giving up 13 points. That's a good day. You had a pick 6, called back. I mean, it was an early hit, a very little bang, early hit. Yeah.
When you slow it down on replay, but that's bang, bang.
But you want to call that
if it
fine.
happens to the Bears, they don't get that call. That's how I know. We all know that, right? Of course the flag comes out.
Secondary,
if it was the Patriots or the Packers, they would have had it.
Secondary, though, is so good. I mean, Jalen Johnson is the real deal. He was, again, getting his hand in there, breaking up passes. I think he had 2 broken up passes today. Kyle Fuller was amazing. I was thinking about that today because I know Kyle Fuller's who we got instead of Aaron Donald. But if that's your second prize in that draft for a defensive player, who else would you have wanted? He's a great player. Absolutely,
someone that
agreed.
A lot of people had written off in Chicago as a bust. Even I freaked out the day we drafted him, and I can remember texting Jake in his 5th year here, and he signed a jersey for me, and I can remember telling Jake afterwards, I was like, man, he does not want to be here anymore. And now look how much has turned around for him, like a hawk out there, all over the place, and just some of the tackles he was making too. Him and Eddie Jackson, aggressive.
Eddie Jackson had a great game.
And man, I feel bad for Saquon because the news at the end of the game came out that he tore his ACL.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And I really feel like that Kyle Fuller hit prior to the play where he came off was really what did it. And I'm surprised they let him go back in after that. But how do you know?
Well, that one hit, he was holding his wrist or his elbow in the first hit. And then when Eddie threw him down, though, he had some serious force behind it. In the moment, not the replays, but I saw it. It was
push downs that were very similar. Like, dang,
he must have hit the weight room this year because he's got some power behind some of those throwdowns. But yeah, I mean, you got to be proud of the secondary. Roquan Smith had a pretty decent game today. He had a big tackle for loss. He had some big hits. Trevathan is a little. And your depth behind inside linebacker is a little shaky, but I feel good about him. I mean, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Second game of the year, still getting their bearings, just getting Quinn back. He's got to get up to his game speed. I don't think he's quite there yet. But yeah, giving up 13 points, I'll take that any day of the week. And the Bears could have at least put up another touchdown. If Anthony Miller catches one of those balls, we're talking about not such a close game whatsoever. So. And Cairo Santos, I think he's not even close on that 50-yarder. So I was thinking for a minute there, I was like, this guy's connecting. He was hitting all his kicks. He was doing okay. And I was like, I wonder if this is going to be a hard decision once Panero comes back. And then I was like, well, Panero's got that leg at least. I think you got to put a guy out there that can hit 50 yarders.
Definitely going to make the switch now when Eddie is ready to return. But I don't feel confident about either of those guys. I don't think I'm ever going to feel confident about a kicker ever again.
I'll still be on pins and needles anytime Eddie's kicking. That's the same.
How can we get Robbie Gould? Can we just put an Eddie Pinheiro jersey on Robbie and have him run out there? I mean, That is literally the only way I'm ever going to feel confident about that position ever again. My God. What a nightmare. So
You're seeing it all over the league, though. There's kicker problems. There's teams that are carrying 2 kickers on their practice squad, like the Bears have been. There's been a lot of kicking problems all across the league, so it seems to be a common problem.
Tino, what do you think? Oh, he fucking That's my guy.
Hey.
That's me. That's me being upset with the double doink.
I like playing.
Man, I'll tell you, when that double doink happened,
we got to.
I was ready to die.
We got to get back to that. This team has got to get back to that moment and right that wrong. That's what this is all about. I'm a guy that appreciates the journey in sports. You know, maybe it's from my days of watching Michael Jordan and watching him climb the charts very slowly in the NBA and eventually reaching that mountaintop. And he had to overcome a lot of adversity. He wasn't the GOAT his first days out the gate. He had to earn that title. And I'm not saying anybody on this team is the GOAT. Don't get me wrong here. But that's what sports is all about, the journey. And what they did in 2018 was special. A lot of fun. One of my favorite years ever as a Chicago Bears fan. And yes, it ended in heartbreak with the... Jake, of course, had his heartbreak, and it was terrible. And last year was almost just as bad as that moment in general. But they have a chance here to right that wrong, to finish the story on their own terms. Tariq gets the extension. Allen's looking for his extension. Eddie got his extension. Mitch is who he is. It doesn't
Allen's
matter.
got to finish some of those plays with a little more strength.
He knows that. Anybody questioning his hustle or heart, he wants this for any. I will never question. Everybody makes mistakes. Football is hard, ladies and gentlemen. So they have a chance here now to right the wrong, get back to that moment, and win some fans over in this city that doesn't ever give any love. That's fine.
And let's give Javon Wims a little love too, because he's come through when his number has been called. He had that nice touchdown grab last week. He made a nice catch today.
All the receivers
for a fourth receiver, he's coming on and he's doing his job. So props to him.
And they're making plays on balls because Mitch is putting them where they need to be, but they're wobbly. A couple of them were real wobbly coming out of his hands.
A couple tip balls.
And
Allen caught a tip ball earlier.
Mooney both came down with those beautifully. So Tino, what else you got? Where are you at now? The Bears are 2-0. You know, they have Atlanta coming up next week. Atlanta took care of the Dallas Cowboys today. I'm not sure how much you were able. Yeah, I'm fairly certain.
No. Cowboys won.
Okay. The Cowboys came back and won. See,
Cowboys came back.
All the Bears mania in the fourth quarter, I was completely tuned out of it. I had 2 TVs to my right and left, and I might as well have not even brought them out because I didn't watch anything but the freaking Bears, of course, because they couldn't freaking finish.
Well, I think that's 2 weeks in a row now that Atlanta's allowed somewhere like 39, 40 points per game. So you shouldn't – I mean, there's going to be opportunities for the Bears. They're just going to have 2 extremely good wide receivers to account for. Todd Gurley hasn't he's on my fantasy team, so I've been watching what he's been doing, and it ain't much. So I think you could bottle that up, but Hayden Hurst is a good tight end. I mean, that's a good offense you're going to have to put up some points.
Where's your confidence level, Tino, heading into Atlanta, going on the road, having seen what you've seen from these Bears here these first 2 weeks?
Well, as a diehard Bears fan, I'm going 3-0. But you know that's my heart speaking. But you know, as far as knowing the game of football and how it goes, it's going to be tough only because they are you got Matt Ryan, you got the receivers that they have, and it's like so one of the things that I see that we're letting go of is or not even letting go of, or is not attacking too much, is that we're allowing that team to come back. We allowed Detroit to come back. We allowed the Giants to come back. And that's the one thing that we can't do. If we get up on Atlanta, we have to put our foot on their neck, and we have to keep, digging. But I just but I'm happy Nagy's going at the run game. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. He's giving Montgomery the carries. I think, he should get at least 20 touches. I like how Cordell Patterson is running.
Yep.
I'm even liking how Tariq Cohen is somewhat running. He's not doing the sideline to
Somewhat
sideline.
running.
So
No, you're
I
right.
think
There is positives to take from what we've seen, even though it's been frustrating and there's a lot of similarities of what we've seen over the last 30 years as Bears fans. I agree with you. There is room for optimism with the run game, with the way Mitch is playing in certain capacities under all this pressure. So they just got to keep taking those little baby steps. But I'm with you, Tino. It's hard to pick these games going forward and trying to be unbiased. We do a pick in the Midway Minute newsletter. Our guy Kevin Gaduk was nice enough to let us do it. And I was telling Jenny, I was like, I can't just pick the Bears 16 weeks in a row or I'm going to lose all credibility, I feel like. But that's who I am. I've never picked against the Bears. And we did these pick-ems for our show against Johnny B for his gambling segment. And I don't know how I'm ever going to pick him against the Bears. But I guess one week I'm going to have to pick it. But I don't know if it's going to be this week. I'll let you know on Friday. But Tino,
you never bet with your heart, though. So if this was for money, like Johnny says, you never bet with your heart.
Well, I'm glad I didn't do that plus 8,000 for Cole Kmet first touchdown of the game.
Well, you only would have lost $1 if you put $1 on it.
It depends on how much I put.
Yeah, it all depends on what you put
20
down.
shekels down, but we'll see. But Tino, we appreciate
It's
your
fun.
time and joining
Thanks,
us
man.
for our first ever fan segment of Brags in the Stands. We plan on doing a lot more of these type of segments, in our regular Friday shows, and then of course for different post-game shows, and even when we're at the games. So when we go to the games, one day I'll meet up with you and we'll go live again right up on here, because that's what I'm looking for. I mean, being at our houses, watching the games, all well and good, but you know me, I like to be at the games, in the stands, in the tunnel, screaming my love for Mitch as he runs into the tunnel. And I want you to join me one of these days when they ever let us back in. So, again, Tino, really appreciate all
Thank you, man.
time,
Appreciate it.
and appreciate you coming on
Hey.
as a guest at Brags in the Stands.
All right. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate you guys and I love what you guys are doing. Keep up the good work. And,
Thanks,
of course, bear down.
Bear
Yeah,
down.
thank you. Again, appreciate all the support, my man. So we'll catch up with Tino another time. We always want to bring on guest callers. I think this was a great post-game show. We got the insight from Bearlissimo. We brought in some fans and got their perspective.
I want to hear a little bit what Nagy had to say today. I wonder if anyone's going to ask him about Montgomery.
Well, can you pull up any of that, or is that something we can't do on the fly? Now, you're more than welcome to. We're at the 1 hour and 8 minute mark, but if you think
Has it really been an hour?
If you think you can pull up the Matt Nagy presser and you want to
Try.
watch it,
Let me see.
I will
Let me see what I can
more
do.
than happy
Let me ask
to
you a
indulge
question in the
you.
meantime, though,
I
while I'm
will-
trying to figure this out.
I will answer.
So it seems like that road teams seem to have an advantage this year. When you're coming into another team's stadium, like the Giants were down 17-0 today, and they come into the second half and there's no crowd noise. There's nothing going on. That causes so many problems for so many teams on the road, especially when they're down big like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in your opinion, don't you think, or do you think that has a substantial effect on why these teams and the Bears were even able to come back into the equation into these games late?
Definitely plays into it. You saw that a couple times, even in situational moments where you're trying to get them to jump off sides. And normally in a high pressure game where you have the crowd going crazy, I mean, you see it with the Seattle 12th man, they absolutely play a factor in, a guy jumping or, a dropped pass, that hush of the crowd as the ball comes in the air and a guy is wide open and you hear the crowd react, and then it comes into his breadbasket, it comes off, and it's like, oh, that energy plays a factor 100%. And, a lot of people were saying without fans in the stands, oh, Mitch is going to ball out now because he has no pressure. It's just a different type of pressure. I think without having fans in the stands, you have an opportunity for teams to come in and just focus on their job. And it's no pomp and circumstance of the pre-game and halftime and post-game, commitments to the shaking hands and kissing babies and talking to all the media members. I think that's the element that's gone, and I think that helps the player. Now, you're absolutely right when it comes to these comebacks. There is no, like I said, energy when a team's up. You know the Bears fans would have been going crazy to start that second half. They'd have the Bear Raid sirens going and everything else. But at the same time, football is a law of averages, and it always seems to balance out. The Bears have always embodied that kind of theory. They always play up and down to their competition. So really, I guess the crowd would have changed the element of the game, but just in the same, it would have just been the same craziness, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
It always ends in craziness. We're never going to find the formula where we just get to be comfortable every day. I don't. We'll try. We will try. Maybe one day we will come on here and we'll have the well-oiled machine that is the Kansas City Chiefs as our team, and we can just sit back and laugh at the rest of the league. But those moments are few and far.
Not quite there yet.
We had Michael Jeffrey Jordan in this town, and to be quite honest with you, if you told me that's all I get when it comes to dynasties, I'll take it. That was sorry for the young bucks that didn't get to see it, but it was the greatest sports decade of my life, and I'll live it and love it every day. And that Last Dance documentary embodied all that. Hopefully the Bears can have their own 10-part series of a decade of dominance, but we're not there yet. We're climbing the mountain.
And that's what makes the quarterback choice of Ryan Pace so heartbreaking, and that's why everyone, that is a big factor on why people just don't like Mitch. And it's not necessarily, he hasn't given you a ton to love on the field, but you also have that lingering thought in your back that this should be Patrick Mahomes. This should even be Deshaun Watson out here playing football. And we have Mitch Trubisky.
It's a culmination of that and all the ghosts of quarterbacks past in Chicago. That laundry list that they love to pull out every time, we play the Green Bay Packers. And they've had 2 quarterbacks for 25 years, and we've had 38. And that's who the Bears are, and Mitch has to wear that. And if he can overcome it, he will earn the respect of this city without question. Even his hardest doubters, when Mitch made that pass to Darnell Mooney, as wobbly as it was, every person, the biggest Mitch haters were tweeting at me, all right, kid's hot now, because we see it. He's busting to get over the hump. And yes, Grant, us real fans do love Mitch. But you know what? I will always preface, we're all real fans. You're allowed to be critical. You're even allowed to be a hater, as some would like to. I don't put labels on anybody. Some are critical, some are analytical, some are a little more positive. Well, however you want to phrase it, we're all just watching the game the same way. It's opinions. You know how those go. We all have one. But I just want to see Mitch overcome this. I think it would be a great story. If not, move it along. But we're 2-0, so we're already in this now.
We'll take it. These aren't perfect games by any stretch of the imagination, but you would rather you're fixing these mistakes at 2-0 than 0-2 or 1-1 any day of the week. So we'll take it, and we'll hope that next week against Atlanta, they got a few tricks up their sleeves, because they're going to 17 points ain't going to cut it against Atlanta. It's just not going to work.
The way they've played these first 2 weeks will not beat Atlanta. And I'm going to have to think long and hard next Friday when I have to submit my pick to Kevin Caduck at the Midway Minute in his awesome newsletter that y'all should be subscribing to. And we put our pick in 2 weeks in a row. I picked the Bears to win, and 2 weeks in a row I'm correct. But I am trying to be credible when it comes to this. I'm just going to be a Homer Meatball Bears win every time we put in our picks. And this game coming up is a tough one. In my opinion, if you look at the schedule going forward, we have Atlanta, and then we have the Colts coming up. I believe both are on the road, if I'm not mistaken. And
Atlanta's definitely on the road.
And they need to split at the very least. They need to split these games. So
and Atlanta's now coming to 0-2. They need this win really bad.
This is a tough game. I was hoping they
teams that go 0-3 does not end well for them. They're going to be at home. So, yeah, they're going to be very motivated to win this game.
Exactly. Their season's on the line. The Bears are lucky to be 2-0. It's a mentality thing. You wish they'd just come in with this killer's mentality, and maybe they will. Maybe Atlanta has so many flaws they can't overcome it. We won't know until the ball kicks off. But the mentality going into the week for Atlanta is they're going to be doing everything they can to save their season, and they're at home, like Jake just said. So then you got the Colts the next week. So as a Bears fan trying to look big picture, I need them to split these two games before they play on Thursday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because you don't want to let this, the same way you let a lead slip away, you don't want this 2-0 start to slip away, because all of a sudden if you lose one and you slip on the banana peel, now you're playing on Thursday Night Football against Tom Brady, who looked very good today. So they got to build momentum the correct way. So if they win this week and move to 3-0, now we're cooking. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but that's just kind of how I look at things as a fan. Lovie Smith had trained us to look at the season in quarters, and we're in the first quarter of our season. So we are 2-0, and I need to find a way to 3-1 at worst. And whatever that is, on to the next quarter.
And I think the key to beating Atlanta is keeping them off the field as much as you possibly can. So the idea that you're going to need to be moving the chains in the run game and running that clock and controlling time of possession, that's going to be key to beating Atlanta. And I hope Matt Nagy, when he looks at this film, he's thinking to himself, I got to get David more touches, because good things happen when Dave Montgomery touches the football. Whether through the air or on the ground, it doesn't matter.
There's no question that's what they need to do, but that's easier said than done. They got to get positive yardage when they do. I thought he picked his spots very smartly. In second down moments that you might not expect a run, he was getting big yardage. So I loved those play calls. Yes, it's the easy way of thinking, they just got to get him more touches, but there's context behind that. It's situational. So
sure it is.
I just want.
But I'll cut out some of those Cordell Patterson plays if I could get a little bit more David, because some of those, like there was an
especially at the end,
a little forced. There was an early down call in the first drive of the game to Cordell that he just went outside and it went nowhere. That happened at least 3 times today. So, and I loved Cordell, but I mean, maybe if David's running, let him run.
Cordell's tough to bring down. He's tough to bring down, but the plays they run for him are a lot of swing pass runs, and they got to get out there and turn their hips and move. And then when they don't, he's got nowhere to go, so he just is running to the sideline. So, and you see that a couple times with Tariq. So, yeah, when they do make these calls, you want to see more north and south. That's the idea. But, the other team does get paid too. So it'll be interesting. This is going to be a really tough game. If they win it, it's going to speak volumes to where this team is going. But it's a big test. And, hey, it's an opportunity. And Mitch has made the most of these first 2 games. Maybe not the most, but enough. And now he needs to just continue to chip away, get a little better each week. I'm seeing good things. That throw to that play to Darnell Mooney was awesome. That was the most excited I've been about anything this offense has done in 2 years. So that's great.
They were running those play action plays, and he was hitting guys over the middle consistently. I forget what drive it was. I can't recall. I have some notes, but they're too messy. But he was doing really well out of play action today. Very accurate with the football, pretty much all day long. And one play that he probably wants back, but I mean that is a major difference to what was happening last week. Last week in my notes, I was almost calling every other drive. There was something that you're saying, "Oh, Mitch, you can't throw that ball. You can't throw that ball, Mitch." And there was maybe one of those today. I mean, I wouldn't put either of those picks necessarily on Mitch. They're both tips. The one was just a crazy good interception really against Allen Robinson. That's a big defensive play.
Slightly underthrown, but a ball that Allen caught and then had
ripped
out of his arms. Well, he caught it. I mean, then the DB took it out of his hand. So you can't blame Mitch because he completed the pass technically, and then the DB just took it. So you got to credit the DB there. And yeah, the first one, I don't know. He did have a few moments where he was throwing into traffic. At the end of the game, he had a ball tipped. And I thought he was lucky that ball got tipped, because had it got through, I think we might have had another tip drill situation on our hands there. And I think that those few moments, it's like, be safe, especially when you have the lead, and or just run for it. Like I believe, was it Brandon or Tino that was saying, take off a few more times. They had those designed runs on the sweeps. I could do without those. I could do without those, putting your quarterback out like that. Now, if you want to take off when the line breaks down, I like that better as far as Mitch using his feet than those designed sweeps. I don't know. Those were okay. But not something I need to dip into the well too much as a Bears fan. So we'll see.
But here's the thing, too. We're talking about the Bears defense a little bit, and was it Brandon? Brandon said he wanted to see a little more on the defense.
Yep.
The defense today, they held the Giants to 295 total yards of offense. They had 4 sacks, an interception, forced fumble, fumble recovery, 5 tackles for loss, 5 passes defended.
Yeah.
They held New York to 3 for 13 on third downs. And although on fourth down, they were 3 for 3. But, I mean, that's good defense. You'll take that any day of the week.
And Mac gets the same critical eye that Mitch gets. This, where's Mac? I had somebody tweeting that at me like right as he got a sack. I was like, he just got a sack. And then you heard on the telecast, they said, Mac was getting in the backfield on the final drive a lot. You can see how hard he's working to try to get there. You're sitting there as a fan watching him try to get around the left tackle, and you're like, why can't he do this or that? It's hard. That's not easy. And
it's hard.
They're game planning away from him, so he makes a play at the end. But it's the same thing. Yeah, we hold this defense to a high standard. We hold Khalil Mack to a high standard. We're holding Mitch Trubisky to a high standard, so we better be holding all these other people to that same standard. And so that's what it is. You hope they continue to get better and build off this. The Eddie Jackson pick six should have been the cherry on top, and they got screwed out of that. We got Grant Sims in the chat, our good buddy, joining in, asking if Danny Trevathan have a bad game or did Pagano call an okay game at best.
I'd have to go back. I wasn't ultra paying attention to what Trevathan was doing up the middle, but from what Bear Bellissimo was saying, he got pulled out quite frequently today. He wasn't getting the snap count that he was getting last week.
Yeah,
we'll have to see what that's all about. Maybe that's him losing a step, or maybe that's him. They're figuring they can get better out of somebody else. So I guess we'll have to keep tuned in and see what's going on.
Yeah, and Grant, you'll definitely have to catch the earlier segment with Bear Leesman. We did have some great analysis for Danny Trevathan that I think you'll really enjoy. But as far as Pagano calling an okay game at best, Jake, how do you feel so far? It's year 2 games in. We don't have our guy Fangio anymore. He's out there head coaching for the Denver Broncos. How much, confidence do you have that Chuck Pagano can eventually get this defense to be whatever everybody's looking for, these aggressive turnover machine ball hawk?
I don't know. I was expecting some more exotic blitzing from him. Let Eddie, blitz a little. I mean, Chuck was, or not Chuck. Fangio was really good at kind of dialing up some interesting blitz packages and things like that. I'd like to see Pagano, I can't even talk, Pagano get a little bit more aggressive in certain situations, especially when you're up 17 points.
Yep.
To just sort of, go for it. But I'm hoping that might not just be who he is. But I tell you what, he puts the secondary in position to make good plays. And they've been absolutely dominant. I'd like to see where they rate in the league right now, but they've been playing great football.
Well, we have been infiltrated, Jake. My known nemesis on Twitter is here. Here he is. He's got all these great comments. I love Mitch. Go Mitch. He even got a little Ric Flair woo in there. He wants some exotic stuff. Can you provide any exotic stuff, Jake? I don't know exactly what he's looking for.
I think he means from Pagano, like I was just talking about.
He wants some exotic blitzes.
Right.
I thought he wanted like some exotic stuff, but I'll keep the jacket on for now, Kev.
Yeah, I doubt he's asking for that.
Well, you never know. Once you get to know Kev on Twitter, he'll have you thinking twice that he was asking for some real exotic stuff and maybe not exotic. You just never know.
Well, you know it better than I do. So.
Oh boy, he's a great guy on Twitter. I suggest everyone get into a Twitter tussle with him. It's the best. So I think this will about wrap up the show. We've had a lot of fun. Some guys checking in on us at the end, and we appreciate all of our listeners hanging out with us. And of course, I want to thank Brandon and Tino for being the first ever callers to Brags in the Stands. It was a lot of fun trying to test that out. Holy moly.
There we go.
That funky music, my boy. That's what I'm talking about. Chicago Bears win. We appreciate all your support. Sharing the show along, subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitter. following along in all the fun. That's what we appreciate. We'll be back Friday, 7 p.m. as per usual. The Chicago Bears are 2-0. We are so excited for that. On to the Atlanta Falcons.
Atlanta.
So we got a lot of fun stuff planned. Gonna have some good guests coming on. Gonna talk more Bears. And of course, our guy Johnny B will have more picks for you for next week to get your gambling fix in and make you some money from your couch while we all gotta sit here and watch the games. So again, want to thank Bearlissimo, George from London,
Thank you, sir.
for coming on the show, giving us the hard-hitting football analysis. We as fans appreciate that, and you will always be welcome on Brags in the Stands. We'll be bringing you on in just short time. Again, Bearlissimo, so thank you. Thanks again to all the fans for hanging out. Thank you, Jake, for putting in the hard work, and we'll see you Friday. Victory Monday tomorrow. Bears win. Feeling good. Great vibes. Bear down all day, every day. I'm trying to find our graphic. Money
There it
Mitch.
is.
Bear down.